The terminal was alive with motion, wheels clattering against tile, voices echoing across loudspeakers, children darting between benches. But at gate 14, everything slowed for me. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. My mother's voice cracked like a whip, slicing through the crowd. Pathetic. Denise Lawson spat, shoving my suitcase away with her heel. It toppled onto its side, spilling the zipper open, clothes sliding across the airport floor. Brooke can't even afford her own ticket. What kind of grown woman shows up empty-handed? Snickers rippled from my relatives. My cousin Taylor Reed folded her arms, her lips curling into a cruel grin. Guess some people never grow up. Maybe you should have just stayed home, Brooke. This trip is for the adults. Heat rushed to my face, but I kept still, hands clenched tight around my duffel. My mother's eyes burned into me, fueled not by disappointment, but enjoyment. She wanted me crushed here, in front of everyone. She's useless, Denise declared, loud enough that people passing by slowed down to stare. Always has been. Laughter erupted behind her. One uncle shook his head like I was a bad joke. Taylor pretended to cover her laugh with a cough, but her shoulders shook with delight. I bent down to grab my suitcase, but my hand froze when I heard it. Sharp, confident footsteps cutting through the terminal. Boots. Military boots. The laughter died out as a man in uniform stopped directly in front of me. His posture was iron, his eyes steady. He gave me a crisp salute. Miss Lawson, he said, his voice carrying authority that turned every head within earshot. Your private jet is ready. We're prepared for departure. The world went silent. My mother's smirk crumbled into shock. Taylor's jaw fell open. The relatives who had laughed seconds ago stared as though reality had cracked in half. I straightened, clutching my bag with a calmness that surprised even me. Slowly, I turned toward Denise. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Looks like I won't be needing your charity after all. Her face blanched, lips trembling, but she said nothing. Lieutenant Adam Collins extended his hand toward me. Not to touch, but to guide. I walked past my family, my suitcase wheels rattling behind me. Each step felt like a victory carved out of years of humiliation. And for the first time, they weren't laughing. They were watching me leave them behind. The silence in the terminal clung to the air like smoke even after I walked past them. My mother's voice, usually sharp, cruel, commanding, was gone. For the first time in my life, Denise Lawson didn't know what to say. I kept moving, my suitcase rattling behind me, Lieutenant Adam Collins walking in perfect step at my side. People stared as we passed. Strangers whispered. A uniformed officer escorting a young woman? A private jet waiting? Their curiosity was thick, but none of it mattered. Behind me, I could hear Taylor Reed's frantic whisper. Did she just say private jet? Brooke? Are you serious? Denise snapped back, her words trembling. She's bluffing. She has to be bluffing. Don't stand there. Follow her. The sound of their hurried footsteps grew louder as they scrambled to catch up. But I didn't speed up. I walked steady, chin high, heart pounding with something I hadn't felt in years. Power. We reached the VIP entrance of the terminal. Adam stopped and turned, his voice firm. Authorized personnel only. His hand hovered near his badge, daring anyone to argue. My family froze at the rope divider, their expressions wild with disbelief. Denise's face was pale, her carefully painted lipstick smudging at the corner of her mouth. Brooke, she hissed, trying to keep her voice even but failing. What is this? Some stunt? Who's paying for this? Don't you dare humiliate me. I turned slowly, meeting her eyes. The crowd had grown, passengers and airport staff pausing to watch the drama unfold. Every word I said would echo louder because of it. You did that yourself, I said quietly. Every time you called me useless. Every time you laughed at me in front of them. Today, I glanced at Taylor, then back at my mother. You just showed the world who you really are. Taylor's cheeks flushed, her arms crossing tight over her chest. Don't act like you're better than us, Brooke. One officer shows up, and suddenly you're what? Royalty. Adam's voice cut through, low but commanding. Watch your tone. The weight in his words made Taylor shrink back a step. Denise tried to recover, reaching for her usual weapon, control. Her voice softened, trembling with a sweetness that had always fooled outsiders. Brooke, honey, you don't need to make a scene. If you had this all along, why didn't you just tell us? We're family. That word, family, twisted like a knife. I took a breath, my fingers tightening around my suitcase handle. Family? When you threw my clothes on the floor in front of strangers. When you laughed with them while I stood there humiliated. My voice wavered, but grew stronger with every word. Family doesn't break you down. They build you up. But you've only ever wanted me small enough to control. Her mask slipped. For a second, I saw raw panic in her eyes. She opened her mouth to fire back, but Adam stepped forward, lifting the velvet rope. Miss Lawson, he said, ignoring the others completely. Your jet is waiting. The crew is ready. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. Denise's hands shook as she reached out, grabbing the rope.
No, wait. Brooke, please.
If you walk through there, you'll regret it. Don't you turn your back on this family. I stared at her, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. For years, I'd wished for her approval. For years, I had begged for a place in her world. But now I realized I had my own. I let a long silence hang before I answered. You already turned your back on me. I'm just walking forward. And with that, I stepped past the divider. Adam dropped the rope behind us, a clean line between my past and my future. The crowd murmured. My family stood frozen, their humiliation now the spectacle. And I, Brooke Lawson, the one they called useless, walked toward the doors that led to my private jet. For the first time in my life, the weight of their judgment was gone, replaced by something else. Freedom. The glass doors slid open, and the world outside hit me. Bright sun glinting off the tarmac, the low roar of engines, and the gleam of a sleek jet parked just beyond the gates. My breath caught for half a second, but I didn't slow down. Every step forward felt like cutting away the chains my family had wrapped around me. Lieutenant Adam Collins matched my pace. You handled yourself well back there, he said quietly, almost like an afterthought. His voice was steady, but I caught the edge of respect in it. I glanced at him. You don't know the half of it. Behind us, the glass doors slammed open again. My mother's voice tore across the space. Brooke. Denise Lawson's heels clattered against the pavement as she stormed after us. Taylor and two of my uncles trailed her, their faces flushed red with embarrassment and rage. This isn't over. Airport security hesitated, looking between Adam's uniform and my mother's furious gestures. Adam gave them a curt nod, and they stepped back immediately. The power dynamic was shifting, and everyone could feel it. Stay behind the line, Adam ordered without turning around. But Denise never took orders, not from anyone. Brooke, stop right there. Her voice wavered between fury and desperation. You don't get to humiliate me like this in front of the whole airport. Do you know what you're doing? I spun around, my suitcase wheels locking against the pavement. For years I'd let her words cut me down, but now I had an audience, leverage, and the truth burning in my chest. What I'm doing, I said, my voice clear and sharp, is refusing to bow anymore. You taught me shame like it was a family tradition. But here's the truth, Mom. You don't get to control me anymore. Gasps came from the cluster of strangers watching from inside the terminal. People had pressed their faces to the glass, phones raised, recording every second. My humiliation had turned into her downfall. Taylor stepped forward, her tone dripping venom. This is pathetic. What? You got lucky once, and suddenly you think you're important. We all know you don't have money. You couldn't even keep a steady job. I let her words hang there, then tilted my head slightly. Funny you say that. Because the only reason you're still clinging to relevance is off the scraps of your daddy's trust fund. Taylor's face turned crimson. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She wasn't used to me talking back. Denise tried to recover, her voice trembling. Brooke, if you had something like this jet, this officer, why hide it? Why pretend to be nothing? What's your angle? Her suspicion was sharp, but underneath it, I heard something else.
Fear.
I smiled faintly. Because I don't owe you an explanation. Not anymore. That struck harder than I expected. Denise's eyes flickered, her mask slipping, panic surfacing. The woman who once relished in making me small suddenly looked cornered. Adam lifted his radio, signaling to the crew waiting by the jet. 2 staff members stepped forward in crisp uniforms, the jet staircase lowering in a smooth hiss. The sight pulled another wave of whispers from the crowd inside. Denise lunged forward, her voice shrill. Brooke, don't you dare walk away from this family. You think flying off on some plane makes you better than us? You'll always come back, crawling, because you're nothing without us. Her words cut, but they no longer landed. Not this time. I took a slow step backward toward the jet, keeping my eyes locked on hers. You want to know the real difference between us? You needed me to be nothing so you could feel like something. But the truth is, I was never nothing. You just couldn't stand to see me rise. Her lips trembled, fury boiling in her face. For once, she didn't have a comeback. Taylor tried one last desperate jab. This is fake. All of it. Some act you're putting on to shame us. No way Brooke Lawson has a jet. Before I could respond, Adam stepped forward, his voice steady but cold. Miss Lawson is a valued asset. She's earned every inch of respect she has. And as of this moment, she has clearance that none of you will ever touch. The words dropped like thunder. The crowd inside erupted in gasps, some filming more furiously now. Taylor's mouth fell open. Denise stumbled back a step, as if the ground itself had shifted beneath her. I took another step toward the stairs. Believe what you want. But when I take off today, remember this moment. Remember how quick you were to laugh when you thought I was small. Because from this day on, you'll never laugh at me again. The wind from the engines whipped my hair around my face. Adam guided me up the steps, each footfall heavy with finality. At the top, I paused and looked down one last time. Denise's face was pale, her eyes wide with disbelief. Taylor stood rigid, fists clenched but powerless. The relatives behind them muttered nervously, shifting like the ground beneath their arrogance had cracked. I raised my chin. For years I had prayed for them to see me, to finally acknowledge me as more than a failure. But now, as the sunlight bathed the jet and the crew saluted me, I realized I didn't need their validation. They needed mine. Adam's voice carried from behind me. Ma'am, we're ready to depart. I gave a small nod and stepped inside, the door closing with a hiss. Through the oval window, I watched my family shrink, no longer giants towering over me, but small figures scrambling in confusion and fear. For the first time in my life, I wasn't running from them. I was flying above them. The hum of the engines filled the cabin, a steady roar that made my chest vibrate. Plush leather seats gleamed under soft lighting, and a steward in uniform offered me a glass of water with practiced precision. For a moment, I just sat there, letting the weight of the last hour sink in. Lieutenant Adam Collins took a seat across from me, his posture still formal despite the calm setting. His eyes studied me, not with curiosity, but with quiet respect. You did well out there, he said. I let out a shaky laugh, leaning back into the seat. Did well? I've never shaken like that in my life. But I wasn't going to give her the last word. Not this time. Adam's mouth curved into the faintest smile. You didn't need to. You let the truth speak for itself.
Truth.
That word echoed in my head. For years, my mother's version of truth was the only one the family believed, that I was useless, weak, incapable. But sitting here, strapped into a private jet, escorted by a uniformed officer, that lie had crumbled for everyone to see. The jet began to taxi, the vibration intensifying beneath my feet. Through the small oval window, I caught a glimpse of them, Denise, Taylor, and the others still standing behind the security glass. Denise's hand was pressed against it, her lips moving furiously, though no sound could reach me. And for once, I didn't care what she had to say. As the plane lifted off the ground, my chest swelled with something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, not revenge, something stronger. Freedom. I turned to Adam, my voice lower now. They're going to spend the rest of their lives wondering how I got here. He nodded slowly. Let them wonder. But if you want to tell me, I'm listening. I hesitated, my fingers tracing the edge of the armrest. The secret I had carried wasn't flashy, wasn't some overnight miracle. It was years of grit, silence, and choices no one ever thought I could make. I worked, I said finally, my voice steady. Every insult, every slap of rejection, every time they laughed, I turned it into fuel. I took 3 jobs. I studied at night when they thought I was wasting time. I invested when I barely had enough to eat. I built something they could never imagine. Adam leaned in slightly. And now, I said, exhaling slowly, I own a company they don't even know exists. And that jet out there? It's not for show. It's mine. Earned, not handed down. Saying it out loud made the weight of years lift from my shoulders. For once, I wasn't hiding. Adam studied me with a new level of respect. Then you deserve every salute you get. Silence settled between us, but it wasn't heavy. It was steady. The kind of silence that comes after a storm, when the sky's clear and you finally see the horizon. I thought about Denise, about how her smirk cracked when Adam saluted me, how her words choked when she realized the crowd was no longer laughing with her, but at her. The image of Taylor's flushed, powerless face flickered in my mind. For once, I hadn't been their punchline. I had been their downfall. And yet deep inside, there was still a sting. They were my family. I had wanted their love. But what they gave me was humiliation, cruelty, and years of scars. Adam's voice broke through my thoughts. Do you regret it? Showing them like that? I met his gaze.
No.
Because today wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. I've spent my whole life proving myself in silence. Today, I let them see it. The steward returned, handing me a tablet with flight details. My company's logo glowed at the top. For a second, I just stared at it, remembering all the nights I had cried myself to sleep, the mornings I dragged myself to jobs no one respected, the years of being invisible. Not anymore. The jet broke through the clouds, sunlight flooding the cabin. I closed my eyes, letting it wash over me. Ma'am, Adam said softly. Where to next? I smiled, opening my eyes to the endless sky outside. Anywhere forward. The plane soared higher, the ground disappearing beneath us. Behind me, my family would twist the story, gossip, and try to explain away what they'd seen. But no matter how they spun it, one truth would remain. The daughter they called useless had risen above them, literally and figuratively. And as the horizon stretched endlessly before me, I knew this was just the beginning.